Hello and welcome. My name is Patrick Clore, and I'm the head of customer insights with GiveSmart by Community Brands, and we are thrilled to have each of you here joining our conversation today. Today is episode 17 in our Outside the Room fundraising success series, where we bring the successes of your peers in the fundraising world front and center. Our sole hope in doing so is to continue to encourage and inspire each other to innovate and expand our fundraising toolkits by examining those who've done it so well. And during today's episode, we are thrilled to showcase the Oxford Kids Foundation out of Brighton, Michigan. And joining us are the dynamic duo of Madison Countman and Becca Butcher. Madison, Becca, thanks so much to both of you for joining us here today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
We're excited. And we are also joined by GiveSmart's community manager, Susanna Crawford, and Brandon Steck, director of marketing, both deeply experienced fundraising consultants, happy to share their insights. Susanna, Brandon, thanks to both of you for being here as well.
Thanks, happy to. Thanks, Patrick.
And I looked this up earlier today. Webster's Dictionary defines resources as a natural source of supply, support, or wealth. And we want to ensure we're supplying you with a wealth of knowledge to support your fundraising goals. So in the chat, you're going to see some resources that we wanted to share with all of you that, regardless of where you may be in your fundraising journey, can help you accelerate your impact and further your organization's causes. And we'll get started in earnest here with a quick pulse check as to how everybody's feeling. So as it pertains to your 2021 fundraising goals, are you and your organization sticking with what you've always done, expanding fundraising, and we've figured out what we're going with, looking into new giving opportunities, but still grabbing ideas, or totally head spinning and feeling uncertain as to what we're going to do with that? And well, folks are weighing in on the poll here. Madison, can you just share with us at a high level the mission of Oxford Kids Foundation and some of the messaging that's stayed consistent through all the campaigns you guys have done?
Yeah, definitely. Here at the Oxford Kids Foundation, we are dedicated to helping children with disabilities or chronic illnesses have access to therapies that may not be covered by insurance for whatever reason. And we're based here in Michigan, so we provide grants to families to cover the cost of the therapies within the state of Michigan. And so this year, throughout all of our campaigns, basically what we've said is, even though there's a pandemic happening, like, the pandemic doesn't stop the needs that these kids have for these therapies. You know, we're still getting grant applications. We still need to raise money. We couldn't stop, when everything else stopped. So that's kind of some information about us as an organization.
Oh, that is great. I mean, I think you guys are doing great work, and I think the message of you're never stop fundraising, and the needs and programs you guys are doing is always going to be there. So I think that's fantastic. And we will pull up the results here. And Brandon, I'll toss it over to you. I know you spend a lot of time on the data side of things. So as you look at this, kind of how does this resonate in terms of what you were expecting people's?
Yeah, I'm really encouraged by the data that we see here, especially with everyone looking for new ideas. I think we got some today, which Madison and the team will share on what Oxford Kids is able to accomplish, but also really happy to see that people are looking to kind of think outside the box. Definitely a trend that's been continuing for a while. Really happy to hear that everyone is thinking forward as we move into 2021.
Absolutely, I agree. So with that, we've got, we'll jump into things, and we've got three primary areas of focus for our call here today. Starting with reactive, how Becca, Madison, and the Oxford Kids Foundation pivoted their fundraisers last year in response to the global pandemic. Then go from proactive to reactive with some creative and innovative fundraisers that allowed the team to both increase their fundraising revenue and expand their donor pool. And then at the end, Brandon will take us through some insights and trends from the data throughout the GiveSmart database. And you can send in questions throughout our conversation here today through that chat option. There's no limits to how many you can send, so keep them coming early and often. And I'll preemptively answer the main question that we get each week, which is we will be sending out a full recording of today's call, as well as any materials that we covered during the conversation later this afternoon. So if you have to jump off or something comes up, please don't worry. We'll make sure to get you covered. And Susanna, I'll toss it over to you to start us off by examining Oxford's version of the 2020 most common phrase of pivoting here.
Yeah, that's the phrase, right? And so first I want to say, we usually go through these outside the room webinars by going through each campaign and highlighting the best, but today I really want to highlight the story behind this as well. Oxford Kids Foundation Becca and Madison are volunteers. This is a small group of volunteers who have been able to do all that. So I just want to premise all this and just, how impressed I am with this story. So we'll jump right in. And Becca, we will start with you on this slide. So give us a little bit on this campaign, the virtual fundraising auction. Give us the details on what it used to look like and how you turned it around and what it looked like this year.
Yeah, definitely. So traditionally, we host every year a silent auction and gala where we have a live auction and a dinner and people come out to the event. And that's what we were anticipating to have this year as well. And obviously, we found out everything got shut down at the end of March. And as you can see, our event was supposed to start at the beginning of April. So we had to transition really quickly. And obviously, we couldn't have the dinner feature anymore, but we still had these wonderful auction items. And so we wanted to figure out a way that we could move that to a virtual platform with GiveSmart. So we took the auction online and we decided to break up our live auction into what we called premier items, which you can see on the screen, and highlight them throughout the course of the event. And then we had our other items up as silent auction items for the week, and just did it as a silent auction portion. And it was really, really fun. And we got a lot of people involved through the virtual platform that probably couldn't have just come to the event if it was in person.
Fantastic. And going a little more into these premier items, we get a lot of questions. Would these have usually been live items for you? And if so, they're silent auction, but like with the banner on the actual image, how did you go about separating these from the other items?
Yeah, so the premier items would have traditionally been our live auction items that we would have had an auctioneer present and done in the traditional live auction fashion. But moving to the virtual platform, we were new to GiveSmart and we're new to all of this, so we didn't know how to do a live auction in that same format. So we posted them as silent items, and then using Photoshop, Madison was able to add the banner onto all of the item pictures. And then I changed the item numbering. So starting out in the 10 digits for our live items, so that would push them to the top. So when you checked our items page, the live items would be first, which we were calling our premier items with the shift. And then I started all of our traditional silent auction items off in the hundreds. So then it would push them down second and we could see them all in that same order.
Very cool. That is a great tip with the item numbering. And I'll say too that we're seeing people do live auction and premier items nowadays. It's a both, and it's just a great way to really make some of those silent auction items stand above. So again, bravo. And what we're seeing here is I have to call out on all of your campaigns, you guys did an incredible job of breaking it down, putting FAQ sections, and listing all the information needed. So I'll pass it over to you, Madison, and ask, when writing the content on your GiveSmart homepage, how did you decide what to put on the homepage and what information to include?
Yeah, so when we were kind of putting all of this together, it was very new to us because this was our first campaign. And so Becca and I sat down and as if we were a user, I even created a username for my mom who ended up bidding in the auction anyways, but she was kind of like our regular user, not an admin. We went through and we did it as if we were bidding, as if we were donating, and any questions or things that we had, I wrote down, and then I wrote up explanations for those so that anyone who was coming to our site to bid or donate or interact, however, if they had a question about something, or even at the end of the auction, how they were going to get their items or anything like that, we tried to answer those questions so that they would understand basically how to do this since it was so new.
Yeah, I think that's going to be great. Patrick, you have a question?
I did. Yeah, we had a question, kind of first question, so keep them coming. Is just to clarify, so it sounds like you used, I want to make sure we heard it correctly, used your mom kind of as a guinea pig, for lack of a better phrase, and kind of took the perspective of her, what questions, concerns, and then really use that to frame it to make sure that any other donors, you guys kind of preemptively answered. Is that correct?
Yeah, because as admins, you see extra options and different things that you can do. So I wanted just a regular user experience. So I created a login for her and went through the whole process as if I was her. And that's how we created some of our questions and answers for the FAQs. And that was across all of the campaigns that we did.
That is highly creative and insightful, and I think the results speak for itself. So I give you guys a lot of credit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned to us in the past that, your original plan, even with the platform, was to still use paper and pen for your silent auction. So this really was a new experience to go completely virtual, away from paper and pen. So I'm curious, like specifically what we have here talking about the payment and the item collection. Can you kind of walk us through the reactions of your donors and your bidders and how you found this worked, lessons learned or good takeaways?
Yeah, I can take that one. So I think one of the big things we had questions about was how people were going to get their items, because we had people participating not only locally, but from all over the country at this point, because we were able to take it virtual. So that was something that we hadn't anticipated before. So we had just pulled the reports from GiveSmart, and we required the address field when everyone signed up. And then we'd call everyone after the event closed and figured out how they could get their items, and encouraged people who needed them shipped to go on the website again and make an additional donation. And people were more than willing to do that, which helped us a lot with getting the items to people. And then a lot of our frequently asked questions were that we had on our homepage were based on the questions we were getting for people being new to this online bidding platform. So because they had been used to traditional bid sheets at our live events, we took those questions and we formatted them into some of the answers that you'll see on our site.
Fantastic, helpful. And we're talking about your auction, but you also had a little bit of a live component with Facebook. Can you talk a little bit about your communications? What is this Facebook event? What else are we seeing on here? And I will throw this to Madison to get started.
Yeah, so basically what we did is when we pivoted and we went to the virtual, we kind of thought, okay, how are we going to communicate this to everyone, and how are we going to get it across? Like, we have photos of the items, but we also want people to feel like they're still interacting with us and they're still getting some kind of experience. So we did, we actually ended up doing two, but this was the best one. We did a Facebook Live that acknowledged all of our sponsors, acknowledged our donors, and highlighted a bunch of our items. And it's our founder and another volunteer, and it's informal and it's fun, but they're going over everything, and I think it gave our audience a good opportunity to see everything. We also contacted some radio stations, and they did some free advertising for us just to kind of put it out there, like, hey, the Kids Foundation had to pivot to a virtual auction, go check it out, here's the URL, which was really nice. And then we did a lot of emails and social media, and really just tried to get that point across, like, we had to move to virtual, we still need to fundraise for these kids, like, check this out, here's all of our items and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. And I'll say too that your Facebook Live, which you could find on their Facebook page, was just so genuine, and it just made me want to donate and be there with you guys. So well done on that. And then final question on this specific campaign, I'll throw it to either of you. Any lessons learned or results that you are willing to share? How did it go?
I think we had a really great response from our audience. Any feedback that we got from either other volunteers or donors, people who bid on items, they were all like, wow, this was like really fun. Like, even though we couldn't all meet up for the gala this year, like, this was really cool. And, they thought we did a great job with laying out all the items, a great job with communicating everything. We were still telling the stories of the kids that we give grants to kind of pull on some of that emotional aspect, because usually we would provide videos during the gala. So we were really trying to think of like every aspect of the gala and how we can turn that virtual. And so everyone really, really enjoyed it, and it turned out really great.
Amazing. Very exciting. Okay, so we're going to jump into a fantasy golf event. Like, what? So when I saw this, I was like, how would you break this down? And Madison, you played a large part in this event. So I'm going to start here. And can you first, without just reading through this, can you just first tell us what was the experience of this for your guests, and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically we would usually have like a golf event like outdoors with groups of people and everything. Obviously we couldn't do that. So we thought, how can we still engage with that audience that's different than our gala audience and still have that golf experience this year? And so another volunteer, he found this golf app where basically you still get to go to a golf course of your choice on your own, play a round of golf, and then you get to put your score into this app and compete with all of the other people that signed up for our event. So, you know, you could be golfing in Michigan and golfing in Colorado and competing with someone. And then the other cool part of it was there was a fantasy part where you got to build a team of pros. And so it was during the US Open. So the weekend that you were golfing is the weekend the pros were golfing. And so your score got combined with theirs. And at the end of it, our winners got trophies. And it was just really interesting how we could take, you know, a live component and a virtual component and a fantasy component and kind of combine them together. And everybody loved it. It was really fun.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, there's so many moving parts here, but you broke it down so simply. And I'm going to kind of jump ahead here and just ask, like, what were your results? What did you see from all of this?
All of our like typical golf people pretty much participated again, and we got some new people. We even had a company set up an internal competition within their business with all of their employees, so they were all competing against each other as well, which was fun. And we got really great feedback. They were excited that again they still got to participate even with everything going on. They still got to go out and play a round of golf at their favorite course and then incorporate the pros into it, and everybody just thought it was really fun. And we had an auction component with this one too. It was smaller than our other virtual auction, but they also loved having, you know, the option to donate or bid on an item to participate with the golf component. So it was really cool.
That's fantastic. And I'll say this too, usually we wouldn't put so much text on one slide, but Madison and Becca have been so nice to let us put these on here. So when you get the recording, feel free to kind of come back and look at how they broke this down and really made it step by step. And on that note too, how did you communicate this? It was on your GiveSmart site, but how did you direct people back to the site for all of this, or what types of communications were needed for people to really understand this?
Yeah, so we had everything written out on the site, but then I also tried to break things down in emails, and I was separating people into, like, if they've already registered, okay, now that you've registered, here are your next steps to get set up in the app. And okay, now you've got the app set up, here's the next step to pick your team. And like, I was kind of moving people through the experience as they registered. But then all of the information was available on our page, and I also built a couple of the like additional pages that you can through GiveSmart so that they could click on an FAQ page, or they could click on a how to set up the app page kind of thing, so that all the information was there if they weren't getting the emails or if they were confused, because there were so many moving parts to it. But like, no one really had any issues, and it was really great. So yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. And kind of the last question on this part, you know, with so many moving parts, can you just kind of talk about as a team, you know, a small team of volunteers, what did it take for you guys to put this together and communicate on your side?
Yeah, so I know nothing about golf, or at least I didn't before this event. So thanks to the other volunteer that I worked with, he was the one who found the app, like I said, understood how the US Open would work with the fantasy component and the pros, and he was the one who also really helped me coach through you know, how I was going to write all of these breakdowns and instructions so that it was really clear to people. So it was really collaborative, because I had things that I knew, he had things that he knew, and we really just had to work together to make it happen. Like, I didn't even know what a mulligan was before we started this. So I learned a lot, and through that collaboration, I think, you know, we had a really successful virtual golf event.
That is great to hear, and I think the collaboration, you know, on both these, you know, events really comes across. And we've had a few questions come in on the golf one that, as long as we're looking at it, I think are prudent to get in here. So the first question is, did golfers pay for the ticket, kind of as we see here, this $50 donation, you know, as a ticket, and then also have to pay for their greens fees at the course they played? Basically, did they kind of pay the donation to you guys and then pay to play the course that they were on?
Yeah. So some of the golfers that participated were maybe club members and stuff, but then others did pay greens fees at their golf course of their choice. So yes, that was a component of it. And then they also paid, like, their entry for the golf was a donation to us, although we did have a small fee per entrant for using the app. So part of that was to cover the app, and then the other part of it was a donation. And then if they wanted to enter more than once, like you'll see that additional entries portion, that was you could enter yourself with like multiple teams if you wanted like 3 teams with different pros on them to give yourself a better chance of winning at the end. So that's what that was. And the other volunteer, he, like I said, knew more about golf, so he was the one who kind of set up the pricing tier and everything. So but like I said, the people that participated, they loved it. They thought it was great. So yeah, hope that answers the question.
I think it does. I think that's good. And one of the ones I know we're going to get to on the next slide. So in terms of kind of the winning, for the event here, what did the winners get? Was it cash prize, trophies, or what was, if I won, what did that kind of yield?
Yeah, we had trophies given out to the winners, and I'm trying to remember what each we had, like, I think 3 different types of winners. Like, you won the overall, you won the best for your individual golf score, and then you won, like, your pros won. So it was like the combined and then the individual and then your pro team. And so each of those, and they were all 3 different people, which worked out as well. So they each got like some cute little golf trophies that we ordered. So
awesome. Anytime a trophy is involved, it's always a good thing. That's great. And Susanna, I'll, pun intended, tee you up to talk about this slide here, and I know it answers some of the questions that people had about the app that you guys are referring to.
Yes, I see what you did there, Patrick. Yeah, and I'll just quickly move this. Madison mentioned how they added like a secondary page onto their homepage. So we're seeing this a lot with hybrid events and events that take more complex steps. Being able to link a second page is a new feature on GiveSmart. So we wanted to point it out that, you know, she had this link that you see here on the left side of golf instructions, and when you click it, it goes to this second page. On this as well, you can see the app that they used. So again, when you get the recording, feel free to go back and see how they wrote this out for their participants. And we'll just keep going from here.
Perfect. And as we turn the page here and kind of move from how Becca Madison and company kind of pivoted in reaction to COVID-19 to really find some just proactive, creative fundraisers that I think as people kind of evaluate the year as a whole, I think are going to be pretty innovative ideas. So Susanna, can you talk us through kind of how the team really just thought outside the box with some of the
Yeah, absolutely. They really did think outside the box and incredibly resourceful as well. So something I think people can help. On this next slide, what you'll see is a donation campaign. And from here, Becca, can you tell us a little bit more about what this is and what problems that it solved for you guys?
Yeah, so one of the things that we had ran into at the end of last year was we had people that wanted to donate throughout the year, just donating through PayPal. And so we had people that were in our system that we were using prior to GiveSmart because they had participated in auctions, and people that had participated only in PayPal, and trying to merge all of them for tax purposes was a lot of work for a small volunteer-run organization. And then we also really enjoyed with the other events that we had ran that people could opt in to pay their credit card fees. And it didn't seem like a big deal when we first signed up, but quickly we realized how important that this was for us. And people were paying their credit card fees, which meant more money was going directly to the kids. So we wanted to create a way in GiveSmart where people could donate and help take some of the cost of those credit card fees at the time of their donation. And so we created this year-round giving event. So anytime we didn't have a live event running, on our website, the donation button would go to this donate event. And then we could collect donations year-round, as well as encourage people to do the reoccurring donations, which was something that we were really excited about as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And I want to reiterate something you mentioned with the transaction fees, because I know that's something that, can eat up some money and important money, critical funds. So I did a little math, and overall from your 5 campaigns that you guys ran, you ended up saving $1,200. And that goes back into scholarships and programs. So this is just such a good thing to have, is that optional transaction fees. And I'll pause there too. And you mentioned reoccurring giving. So can you talk a little bit about like why you decided that this was important to add to actually all of your campaigns?
Yeah, we have a lot of people who like to give over and over at multiple of our events. And so we wanted to have an option for them if they wanted to contribute $10 a month or $20 a month to do so. And we have had some people sign up for that. And so that's a great way for us to keep that donations coming in year round. So we wanted to make it easily accessible for people to see that that is something that we can now offer, and they don't have to remember to come and check out our page every month if they want to give. It does it all for you.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know this is something a lot of organizations are looking for. And just to tee it up a little bit later, but in the last data section, we will be kind of talking about what we're seeing industry-wide and how people are using it. So good things.
We did have, I'll jump in, we had a few questions come in on this topic. So I think the first is just in terms of the transaction fees, I think looking at that one first, is that something that, in conversations you guys have had with donors, were people, especially if they saw something like that for the first time, turned off? Did it understand, hey, I see this all the time? Or kind of just what was some of the reactions, if you guys have had a chance to get any feedback from donors, kind of on giving them the option to cover the fees if they would?
Yeah, Madison, I don't know if you had a lot of this with the golf or not, but with the virtual auction that we did, that was the first time that we had used this platform. We had quite a few questions initially on how that was going to work. And people would just call in and they'd ask, and then they would be like, oh, absolutely. And so as people got familiar with it, we had everyone pretty much sign up to pay their own credit card fees.
Yeah, I can kind of reiterate the interactions that I had with people. They were like, oh, that's what that is. That's really cool. Like, I like that you guys don't have to pay for that, that I can add, $5 onto my total and, cover it for you. So same, like what Becca said, we had really great feedback.
That's great to hear. And I think, to the original point, Madison made it the onset of the call of just because of everything happening, didn't change the programs you guys have going or the need for funds come in. That's great to hear that your supporters kind of supported in that way. So hard transition here, Suze, back over to you for a virtual.
Yeah, a very serious topic, right? But into something really fun and creative that you guys were able to do. So a virtual Halloween 5K with a scavenger hunt. Again, we'll break this down, but Becca, I'll throw it over to you guys in how did you come up with this campaign and how does it work?
Yeah, so given everything that had happened this year, we had to pivot both of our events with less than a month's notice for both of the virtual auction and the golf outing that we had done. So we were trying to brainstorm more ways that we can reach out to donors and get a different demographic than we had typically seen before. So I know I have a lot of friends on social media who are really interested in these 5K runs, and a lot of them go towards charities. So I'd been trying to brainstorm ways that we could get involved doing that and start reaching a different audience than we had typically done in the past. And given how easy it was to set up these events, we decided to go for it. And so we created this virtual event, which really didn't need a whole lot of prep work. Madison and I worked together one night for a couple of hours and were able to build out the entire campaign. And so we just wanted to have fun with it, and it happened right after our golf outing. So we were going into October, and so that's where the Halloween came in. And we just wanted to try something different and see what would happen.
That is great to hear. And kind of, especially as you mentioned, it happened after the golf event. In terms of donor outreach, did you guys have the same, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, target audience, for the fantasy golf versus this versus, I guess, the auction, or did you try to segment or try and reach different, types of donors that you guys had in your network with these different campaigns we're looking?
Yeah, we were trying to reach a very different audience than we have done in the past. So that's why we felt like we were able to do it so close to our other event, is because we were really targeting more families with their kids, something that everyone could get out and do together. And so we wanted this to be really accessible for everyone involved.
I love it. It's so creative the way you've done it. And I like that you gave everyone, I don't know if it's mentioned, but all of October to do it, right? And put in. And you created some really fun things around here. So Madison, I'm going to throw this one over to you to talk about the scavenger hunt, where you came up with the idea and the contest and how it all worked.
Yeah. So I had originally done a roundtable with GiveSmart, where we were just kind of throwing ideas back and forth and what other organizations have done. And there was another organization that did a scavenger hunt, and theirs was completely different from this. But Becca all year had been saying, like, we need to do some kind of virtual race. Like, let's get a new audience. Let's try to reach new people. Let's do this. And so we kind of put our heads together, and I was like, how can we make this fun? So then after the golf event, like she said with Halloween, I was like, let's do a Halloween scavenger hunt. People decorate, people are wearing costumes, like it just makes it really fun. So when you're outside doing your 5K, whether it's just you or you with your kids, like, you can find different things in yards and just around town. And so that's kind of how we came up with everything. And so you'll see all of the different like photo challenges that we did. So part of that too is like, when you take your photos, like share them on social media, tag us, use this hashtag, we'll share them because we want to see what you guys are doing, and thank you for participating. But then it also just shows everyone else like the fun that you can have. And we gave them all October because we knew, one, we had planned it so last minute that we didn't want people to have to like clear a whole weekend to try to do a 5K. So we were like, you could do it all at once. You could do it over the span of October and go for 3 walks. Like, it's up to you. Just, have fun with it. And we had a really, really great response.
It's so fun. This has always stood out to me. And as well, just a moment here that Madison mentioned, she found this idea from a roundtable. If you're interested in becoming part of these brainstorming sessions and getting some of these examples sent to you, check us out at givesmart.com/community. And Madison and Becca are community members, and that's what those roundtables are. We have one coming up on the 28th this month. So again, that's givesmart.com/community to join us and get into these conversations with us. Okay.
Awesome. And we've had a flood of questions come in here about this. I think people are very excited. So the first question, and Becca, Madison, whichever of the two of you feels good to run with it, please take it. But first question was, in terms of the virtual 5K, was it something that you guys viewed as a fundraiser that, hey, we'd like to bring in X amount? Was it, we just want a fun way to engage? And you guys mentioned kind of engage a different donor base. So I get, if I had to put 2 questions to it, the first would be, did you guys view this as more stewardship or fundraising? And then either way, did you guys feel that it was successful based upon the idea?
Yeah, I can take this one. So we kind of saw it a little bit as both. Because we'd never done a race before, we didn't really know what the outcome was going to be. So of course it was a fundraiser. It was $25 to sign up, and that's just a direct donation because we really didn't have any, like the last one, we didn't have any app fees or anything. So your registration was just a donation. And we just wanted to just build that audience so that we can do more races in the future and continue building. But like, we were sharing it on our Facebook, and our family members and stuff were sharing it. So we were just trying to reach a different audience than our typical like gala and golf event. Becca, I don't know if you have anything to add onto that.
Yeah, I think it was a lot about getting our name out there more and getting more people to see what we do. Social media is such a powerful tool, and so we really wanted to use that to help get our name out there in a fun way. And we got a lot more people involved. That I would say probably about 90% of the people that signed up for this event were brand new to signing up for our events for the year. So we got a lot of different audience members from this event.
Wow.
That is fantastic to hear, and preemptively asked a question somebody else. So that's great to hear, and I think if people are looking at it, I mean, looking at the calendar, Valentine's Day. I don't know if I could do a 5K right now, given the winter pounds, but Valentine's Day right around the corner. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I might be able to do one in Charlotte if anyone has one going on in there. I'm in North Carolina. It's a little warm here. But moving right into our last slide of our content and your last campaign of Giving Tuesday, right? It's something that I think probably everyone on this call is familiar with. And so you mentioned that, you know, you had all these new donors, 90% of the people in your last campaign were new to you. So did you see people come from these last creative campaigns into Giving Tuesday? And can you describe a little bit more about what we're seeing here with the items? And I will pass it to Becca.
Yeah, we definitely saw people that came in from those other events participate in Giving Tuesday. We had never done like a formal Giving Tuesday event before, and it was something that was really important to Madison that we come up with a Giving Tuesday event. So she came up with how we were going to set up these items, and if you want to talk on that, Madison, I think you did a really great job setting this up.
Yeah, thanks. So for Giving Tuesday, you know, we have like candles, and you'll see in the photos these different color tumblers that have been donated to us from other volunteers. And so I thought, okay, Giving Tuesday is really a day about giving and donating in any way. But then on top of that, like we have these items that are available that we usually have at like our live auction stuff. Like, why don't we put these on this campaign so that, you know, they can purchase these items. It's a direct donation to us because those items were donated to us. And then they also get a piece of swag, you know, with our logo on it and everything too. But they were just instant items. So I would put in a quantity amount for, you know, 4 orange and 5 teal, whatever we had here and available. And they could just purchase them and donate or purchase them on their own. So that was a really great way to kind of do a different type of engagement other than just donating for the Giving Tuesday campaign.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic throughout, you know, your 5 different campaigns, you were really able to utilize, you know, a ton of different features in a ton of different ways. So just really cool to point out. And we'll end with this question. Again, just highlighting how impressed, I keep saying this, but how impressed I am with you guys as volunteers to be able to, you know, put this together and keep it going. So end of takeaways from 2020 and outlook on 2021. Where do you guys see yourself going and what lessons did you learn? I'm going to ask each of you to answer that. So whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, so I think looking back on 2020, I think we're very, very grateful that we had GiveSmart as a platform to be able to host these campaigns, and we're very grateful for the engagement that we received, regardless of everything that was going on in the world. And looking into 2021, I think we're really excited now that we know that we can be creative and that we can do more, and that we, you know, hopefully will be successful in trying different things. I think we're really excited going into this year to just be able to do more.
Amazing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We're very, very grateful for all of the donations and support that we've received, and everybody that has continued to support us through all of the creativity that we had to do this year. And I think we had to pivot so much. I mean, pretty much all of our events were very short. Like, we didn't have time to really prep for them. The longest we had was about 3 weeks to prepare for one of these events. So going into 2021, I think having some of these things under our belt, we can plan a little bit more for the unexpected, and knowing the platform better will make it, if we have to pivot or as we get creative, we can do a little bit more because we've done it before now.
Awesome. And okay, I have one more question. People want to know, did you beat your goal for the year? Can you
We
share
did.
Yay.
We were really skeptical at the beginning of the year, like I imagine a lot of people were. And so, like Becca said, we were just so grateful for everything that we've received, the participation, the donations, just everything. Like we are so, so grateful and so blown away by all of it.
Amazing. Well, congratulations again to you all. You know, a lot of work and a lot of creativity and resourcefulness here, and just the attitude of just trying something, going for it, and ultimately, you know, surpassing your goal is absolutely fantastic. So thank you for sharing your story today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
That's good. And I'll say, I think each of you are being far too humble. I think you have to put yourself in a position in life, I think, to be able to succeed. And I think exactly what you guys said at the end too of as the calendar turns to 2021, all of this stuff and the amazing things you guys did was building a plane while flying it. And now that there is a little bit of a roadmap and a foundation to build on, I think is exciting to see, not only for your guys' own organization, but I think in general where people go. And I think that I've always personally thought that in moments of chaos, such as what we had last year, creatives and creativity rise, and amazing that you guys did it. And we'll give the three of you a moment to catch your breath while we bring Brandon back in to talk through some of the insights. So in addition to the examples that Becca and Madison had shared with us, we find it important to share some of the different data trends and insights that we see. And as a reminder, after Brandon wraps up here, we'll go into some more of the question and answer. So keep those coming in. Anything we don't get a chance to cover, we will make sure to circle back in our follow-up communication. So with that, Brandon, over to you to talk about some interesting data.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. And I'm really happy to be following such a great story here. And just going to talk about a couple things that kind of resonated throughout the story. One of the items that came up was looking at transaction fees and making those optional for the purchaser. So when someone checks out, they have the option to cover the transaction fees through the platform. We examined this. We kind of took a look at how many customers are actually using this setting, and looked at over time. We kind of broke it down by quarter as that feature has been available. How many people have been using that? So almost 50% of customers in towards the end of the year of 2020 in Q4 were using that feature, and they raised a total of almost, it looks like even more than 10% of dollars in transaction fees from 2020 compared to 2019. So, just like what Becca and Madison, the Oxford team experienced, that, makes up a difference. Every penny counts, right? Especially when, you're taking more online donations. People are more willing to just cover that fee if it's right there as an option. And we're going to continue to look at this data and see what other trends develop, but really something to consider if you are taking transactions for donations or running a silent auction. Make it available, make that an option, so your organization can maybe cover some of that. It's, again, less money out of your pocket, and makes up a difference in the end. And then we're going to jump into another item that kind of resonated really nicely with what Becca and Madison were talking about when we look at recurring giving. So people being able to give month over month, not as much as a big cash donation. Instead, they're being able to give in portions. It's such a crucial way to make it available to all types of different donors. And we wanted to look at the frequency and the amount of donations and the amount raised over time as this feature has been available. So, and from GiveSmart, this has been available since May of 2020. And we've seen, as you can see, kind of a nice curve and a constant increase of people taking advantage, but also participating in the recurring giving function. One thing that Madison and Becca do really well is they make it available whenever donations are available on their sites, and that's going to increase the frequency and the opportunity. And what's really nice is that's just consistent revenue that you can count on. It also makes it easier for people to donate. So as you can see on the top right here, the number of sites that have started to use that, it's been a continuous trend, especially as 2020 was wrapping up and Giving Tuesday was going on. When you're running a donation campaign, if you have the opportunity to make it available to allow people to give a little bit every month, they're more willing to give. So making that available is crucial. And as you can see, organizations are picking up on this trend for sure. And we highly recommend looking into that. And then obviously happy to answer any questions. We did do a wonderful webinar last year on recurring giving and dove into some of the techniques and tactics available to you as an organization. So happy to answer any questions on that, and feel free to reach out to us to talk about these features further. We are looking to help organizations, not just with your silent auction. We have features that cover everything year round. So happy to connect with you and answer any questions in that regard.
Great to see, and I think some awesome stuff. I know flattening the curve is a big thing, but these are graphs that are always nice to look at. And I think, with both of the points there, I mean, again, putting yourself in a position to be successful is always a good thing. And I think it's great to see that the team did it and others are taking advantage as well. So before we open up for Q&A, a reminder about our upcoming webinars here. Our January monthly webinar is on the 28th, and we'll focus on debunking the myths of virtual fundraising, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then in 2 weeks' time, we will have Pam Engel from the Malvern Preparatory School out of Malvern, Pennsylvania, joining us to talk about some pretty impressive fundraising efforts they've been undertaking on their end. And as a reminder, similar to today's call, you can register and ensure that you receive a recording. So that way, if you're unable to make it, you are on the list. So with that, I'll get my auctioneer voice ready to go here as we run through the questions. And Becca and Madison, I think the first two here, either one of you, whoever feels it, talking about going back to the premier items that we talked about at the beginning of the conversation. Were those consignment items things that you guys had already had donated kind of before the pandemic hit, or things you had to solicit after you guys were?
I can take that. Those were all items that were given to us before we had to pivot to the virtual. Thankfully, we have some incredible donors that give items every year like those. So you'll see like there was like a condo and different things like that. And those were all donated ahead of time. So we really didn't have any of like the consignment or any of those other types of items. We were open to having to do stuff like that, but since we had already had our items secured for the gala, we just had to pivot to virtual. So.
That's awesome. And then the next question, kind of talking about virtual, is I can't remember if we covered now, but the question was, for any of these different campaigns and events that we walked through that you guys did virtually, did you guys have sponsors for some of them, all of them? And what, if you guys did, what were kind of the sponsors' reactions to doing things in a new way?
Yeah. So do you want to take it, Becca?
Go ahead.
Okay. So we had sponsors for the gala and for golf. For the gala that we switched to the virtual auction, those sponsors had basically a sponsor package that included like seats and dinner for a certain amount of people. And so when we pivoted, the sponsors basically made their sponsorship a full donation, and we still honored them as sponsors for the event. So we put their ads on all of our GiftSmart campaigns. They were in all of our social media posts and our emails. And we were just very open and honest with them. Like, we may not be able to do this anymore, but we still really appreciate your support. And here's what we can do. And we'll make sure that your name gets out there. Becca, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think what we had to do was we had to get a little more creative, especially with the gala that we transitioned to the virtual auction, and tried to find different ways that we could get their name out there. And a lot of our sponsors for our gala and our golf outing are the same. And so what we did find was when the golf outing came around and we were going to have to do it virtually again, we reached out to our sponsors and they were very excited to help us out again. So they loved what we did the first time and came back to sponsor us in this other virtual platform as well.
That's great to hear. I think, over communication, similar to what, with the instructions you guys put for donors, I think, taking that some level of over communication, transparency to sponsors is great. Just looking at it, actually, this is the rare instance where we covered the remainder of the questions earlier in the conversation with it. So as it tends to do when you're enjoying yourself. That was the fastest hour I've had in quite some time. So as a quick final note here, at the end of this call, you're going to see a survey. If you could please take a minute to give us your feedback, as it is your feedback that helps us shape the content, which we want to be impactful for all of you listening to your organizations, your needs there. So Madison and Becca, again, truly, congratulations for what you guys did up to this point. We're excited to see where it goes from here. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And Brandon, Susanna, thanks to the two of you as well for bestowing us with your insights and wisdom today.
Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Happy to do so.
And lastly, thanks to all of you for joining. I know I speak and reiterate what Brandon said previously, where speak for everybody here that we're in your corner and know you too can emulate the success of Oxford Kids Foundation, the great things they did. So please don't hesitate to reach out if we can help continue towards your fundraising goals. Thanks again and have a great rest.